eldest daughter of most families is the unmothered daughter. She's the daughter that was left to just grow up on her own and become a little mini mom so that she could take care of everybody in the household because those who were supposed to parent her didn't show up. And more specifically, we are talking about her mother, aren't we? The unmothered daughters come from family systems where the parents involved are actually so emotionally immature and self-centered that they this unmothered daughter, this eldest daughter, can see that they can't really show up properly, so she jumps in and becomes the parent, the surrogate parent, for not only her siblings but also for these emotionally immature parents. And underneath all of this lies a need that says, if I parent you enough, since you're not really equipped or know how to parent me, but if I was to parent you enough, do enough things for you, be good enough for you, will you finally show up for me? The unmothered daughter, the eldest daughter, takes on the role of becoming her mother's mother, not because she needs to mother her mother, but because she needs her mother to grow up and show up to mothering her. So she operates under this unconscious false illusion that should she do enough for that mother who is emotionally immature, that one day that mother is going to grow up and evolve and become the mother that this daughter needed. If you are the eldest daughter, and if you are an unmothered daughter, you will know that this rarely happens. And the biggest problem with all of this is not just that your mother is never going to show up to becoming the mother that you needed her to be, and she's never going to grow into being that mother figure that you so desperately needed so she can mother you, she can finally mother you. But the problem is that now you have been doing this mini mom role for so long that it became your personality. And in the world that you are now operating in the world of the adults, you still operate, although being a little girl in the body of a grown woman who is trying to mother everyone. Which means that you will most likely choose men who are quite emotionally mature, the so-called man-child, that you have to practically raise and educate into becoming the partner that you needed. When really deep down, underneath of all this, you're not even looking for a partner or a perfect partner that you are trying to teach how to love you because you don't think anybody could just love you for who you are or can just know how to love you. You're looking for a parent. And this pursuit, this unfinished business from your past, has left a void within that you can't seem to ever fill, no matter how much you try to get others to parent you. And that's because after childhood is over, nobody can really show up to
Lack of
parenting us.
space to work.
Unfortunately, that then becomes something we have to do for ourselves. In this video, I want to talk about the eldest daughter, the unmothered daughter, and maybe you weren't the eldest, but it felt like you took on the family as if you were the eldest. You were that little girl who very soon had to become a little woman and a little mommy to your siblings and to your emotionally mature parents. And you had to grow up, at least seemingly, very fast, which then seemed like a flex, right? People would say, oh, you're so mature for your age. You're so good. You do all these great things. Good for you. But then this trapped you into the role of a mother, a wife, and a worker in the household from such a young age. And you were never allowed to be a child, to grow into the woman that you would have become had you not slipped into those roles, to know what you enjoy without guilt, to become curious about who you are. There's no time for all of that. You just had to become what the environment wanted from you. The eldest daughter, the unmothered daughter, is the daughter that is parentified from a very early age. And this usually manifests as you taking on the role of emotional support for the adults in the home, be it your father or your mother, or for some of you, both, and trying to navigate and triangulate and be in their own mess. And you took on adult responsibilities before you even had a childhood. The eldest daughter is stepping into protector roles of her younger siblings. And it's the usual case of in abusive homes where the eldest daughter goes to uni and then she feels bad for leaving her younger siblings behind. And what is sad with all of this is also the siblings end up feeling wounded and almost abandoned because they saw in the eldest daughter the mother that they didn't have access to. So she did become a mother for her siblings, and her siblings see her as one and expect her to be one, but she's just a child that can't even choose herself because she's already into this business of being a mother to her siblings and parents. The unmothered daughter is the caretaker of the family, and she thinks she always has to be of service, and she will self-abandon with so much ease and so quickly that she doesn't even think about it. The eldest daughter thinks that she needs to be the strong one, and that no one will protect her or do anything to help her if she's weak, so she has to be strong. The eldest daughter cannot really receive, but she can nurture like nobody else. But she struggles to accept any care without shame or fear that whatever she receives, she's going to be owing it back. The eldest daughter feels a sense of over responsibility for everybody's experiences because the eldest daughter could not land into a sense of peace and happiness unless everybody in the household was peaceful and happy. Because she equated the safety of the household to be something that she had to somehow control and make happen through her actions and through her controlling the environment. Maybe she learned that she had to clean the house. Maybe you learned that you had to clean the house before your mom came home, that you had to cook dinner for your dad because he would get upset if you didn't, that you had to take care of your siblings and help them study so that your mom doesn't have a nervous breakdown at night when she comes home, that you had to take care of her and maybe some of her addictions. A lot of the eldest daughters come from homes that the mothers were alcoholics, fathers were absent. It's all sorts of dynamics. And these little girls have had to become the mother, parenting an immature parent that doesn't show up to parenting equipped for it. And so this eldest daughter just shows up to the task, and she seems to be doing a good job until she grows into a woman and realizes that not only she's been conditioned to a role that she is very hard to escape because she doesn't know who else she is without it, and that she feels completely unworthy unless she's of service and helping and fixing and saving others. But also this eldest daughter will grow into being a woman that is trapped into a life of just being of service. Like really, it's almost like a life devoted to others. It's a prison. It's a prison that she's in. And she never ends up knowing what it's like to be your own person, to have your own decisions, your own experiences, and to not be burdened with the heavy, heavy burden that it is to caretake of others. And then you can imagine that this woman can leave her childhood and then become a mother herself.
I'm gonna fix it.
So all of her life, she's just mothering and mothering and mothering. And deep down, though, she remains a little girl that just wants someone to finally take care of her without her asking, explaining, trying, and working hard to get them to see how she needs them to show up for her. The biggest fantasy of the eldest daughter is that somebody finally in her life wakes up, and that usually becomes the partner because she's already established that she's the parent of her own parents. But she usually finds a partner who she's trying to parent so much and train him into becoming a person who finally sees her without her having to try so hard, which is the most elusive fantasy that ends up wasting all of her life because the man child that she chose is not emotionally mature enough to ever go there. But also, if we're always showing up with the energy of mothering in our relationships, we will and we'll give and give and give. We will continue to attract and entertain and find people who are just like children in the dynamics, and they will just take, and take. And we will be left depleted and resentful because they can't show up for us. The irony is that once then the unmothered daughter has children, she may fall into the trap to find some of that mothering that she missed out on through her own children. Because your children are so focused on you and so, they need you so much, they notice the mood changes, they want to serve you, they want to help you, they want to make you happy just like you wanted to make your mom happy. And that then can become a new thing where this dynamic will somehow be recreated because your emotional needs as a child were not met. And you will try to get them met through whoever seems to be interested enough to care about the fact that you're having some experience. And that is usually going to be possibly your child. And it sounds painful when I say it like that, and it may feel very painful when you realize it. But I want you first to think that the reason you're doing this is because of an unfulfilled movement, an unfulfilled experience that you're chasing within, and that is the experience of being mothered. Now, what is the experience of being mothered? Being mothered doesn't mean somebody washes my clothes and feeds me and takes care of me, right? It doesn't just mean that. It means that somebody is taking on the tasks of my caretaking without me having to worry about anything. They anticipate my needs. They anticipate I'm going to be hungry. I'm going to be sleepy. I'm going to be cold. They can see what I'm feeling. And when I have an experience, that person has a lot of space for my experience. And they allow me to have it. And it's almost like through them, I learn myself. The experience of being mothered is, I believe, one of the most defining relationships in our lives. And although I can see how this burdens a lot women in the upbringing of children, but as a woman, I think, although it sounds unfair that this falls so much on us, I feel like we know that the kids we raise and the women we raise rely on us to know themselves, even through just sheer modeling of what is it like to be a woman. They need to see it from us. It's a heavy burden to be a mother, I think, and it's a heavy role, not only because of the responsibilities and all the things that you do, but because you have this little girl that is looking at you and is seeing what it's like to be a woman. And through you, she will be deciding also who she is and what she deserves. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. Which is why so many of us come out of our childhoods with mothers that, you have the blatantly narcissistic mother that harmed you in such ways that it was like really painful and really abusive. And then you have the codependent mother who was smothering you, maybe even, but it was mothering you in such a way where it left you also traumatized. And I explain that in the videos that are relevant to this. But even if you don't necessarily know where you stand in terms of what type of mother you had, you can see that how much of what you experience yourself as a woman is affected by who this woman was, your expectations in life, and how it comes a time in our lives where most of us will come to a point where we'll say, oh no, I'm just like my mother. Because we're supposed to model our parents as a way to adapt, right? And quickly learn how to be humans. And when this mother isn't there, and isn't, first of all, isn't modeling anything good, or is she's abusive, or she's absent, or she's all over the place, but also when she's not really there holding space for who we are, we never get access to knowing ourselves. The mother bond creates a very specific language in our internal system on how to respond to our needs based on how she responded on our needs. And I feel like again, it's putting a lot of burden to the mother, but we have to acknowledge the importance of this bond, so not so that we can blame the mothers and as mothers feel guilty for the mothering that we do or don't do, but really to understand the gravity that it holds to raise someone. It's a serious thing. It's a serious process that we are of course experiencing the aftermath of that process not being done properly, or being done really like a disaster, right? So the experience that you're really needing as an unmothered daughter is to be mothered, because you cannot have access to yourself, because you were never taught and modeled of what it's like to be in touch with your inner world. And all you ever know is, if I have a need, I have to do something for someone around me so that this someone will be activated and care about me and then meet my need. You never learned, oh, I have a need, let me take care of it. You always learned, I feel, for example, unsafe. Ooh, and I'm looking externally. Who do I have to manage? What do I have to do to make my environment safe again? I feel unimportant. I'm looking around. What do I do? Who do I help? Who do I fix so that I can somehow feel like I have some importance and that I matter in this world? There's no direct connection to your worth or the fact that you matter, because you've never learned that. The eldest daughter was left to just grow up on her own, and her emotional needs were severely neglected. And she was also praised for not having the needs. And she was also praised for figuring it out on herself. And she was praised for being a little girl acting like a grown woman in the household, a parentified child, which is such a traumatic experience, because being an adult is difficult even if when you are an adult. But imagine that you are asked to be an adult when you're still a child. That is heavy. So the eldest daughter comes out of her childhood and believes that it's her job to hold everything together, that if she doesn't do X, Y, Z, nobody will, because she doesn't think that anybody else is capable or dependable, because nobody else was. The eldest daughter, the unmothered daughter, thinks that her needs come last, that love has to be earned, that if she relaxes and doesn't do what it needs to be done constantly, everything will fall apart. She thinks that if she says no, she's selfish and ungrateful. She believes that people value her only based on what she does, and not for who she is. The unmother daughter believes that her emotions are an inconvenience because that's what she was taught. And also, she learns that she can't really rely on anyone. There's nobody reliable. And nobody taught her what it's like to rely and trust, because if she ever tried that, she was massively failed. So to survive, she has to stop trusting, and she knows that she has to just get it all done herself. But I think the worst thing that the eldest and unmother daughter believes about herself is that if she's not needed, there's no purpose in her life. And that is the entry point for absolute and full codependency, where we just become someone needed to secure ourselves, that people will stay in our lives. And we continue to do that. We burn out. We treat ourselves as somebody so unworthy, but we hope that we bring enough value to other people's lives that they will one day appreciate us. And they rarely do, right? And when I talk about codependency, I say the sad part is this: that we will do all of this work for people. We will save and fix them and raise them. And there's going to be this unconscious expectation in us for them to pay back somehow, right? Or we are entitled to something, right? Because we're doing it. But nobody can secure that for us. And for the most part, these people are not going to continue to be in our lives after they're fixed or saved. And we will be abandoned. The thing that we were afraid of will happen. And then we'll feel used. And we'll think that everybody's just a taker, but we don't see how much we've enabled people to just take, because we don't act like somebody who respects themselves or their resources. When we give and give and give, when we act like a mother has no expectations. In my own journey and experience of life, I would always have this attitude, although I'm not the eldest daughter. I was quite parentified, but I noticed that in many relationships, romantic and friendships in general, I showed up with very little expectation for people to understand me or to meet me. And I was always there. I was the one that kind of like understood, and almost like a compassionate, like a mother, right? Like I was just like, yeah, I get it. It's fine. It's fine. And then I realized that the people who were in my life in times of their own crisis, when their crisis ended, would just walk away from my life, which is great for someone who, for someone who does therapy with people. When they walk away, I actually don't like it when clients stay for too long, because I don't want anybody to just stay trapped into fixing themselves. I want people to come and we sort of address the important stuff, and then I want them to go out and do life. But when friends do it, at first you're like, oh, everybody leaves when they're happy, la 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 la. But then when you sit with yourself, you start to wonder, what's my contribution to what's happening here? And yes, in many ways, if you're a woman, a lot of your friendships are going to be with women who are very male-centered. And of course, when they find a man, they're going to, leave the friendship behind. Or you have friends who are only there when they're broken up. We all have those friends, right? But also, we can also be the types of people who are coming in so supportive and so understanding in people's lives that people see us as just a resource. And of course, when they're better, they're going to walk away. And I feel it takes a lot of radical self-honesty to see how we've surrounded ourselves with takers, so-called takers. But it's only because we are showing up as somebody who just wants to give, wants to support, doesn't need anything. And it was very interesting that when I started voicing needs, specifically in friendships, because, you know, in romantic relationships, if you voice a need, it's a little bit more accepted, right? But for me, voicing needs in friendships has made me realize that nobody runs away faster than a friend who with whom you voice a need with, like who hears you have an emotional request from them. And that shocked me. That shocked me not only because of the quality of people or the quality of relationships, but how we imagine that if it's so foreign to show up with needs in our friendships, it probably means that we have shown up as somebody who doesn't have them. And so other people have this entitled attitude of don't don't bother me with your needs. Like I'm not here for that, right? So it is a very important process in our lives as children who have been parentified, who have learned how to show up for others long before we learn how to show up for ourselves. We're just coping. We don't really show up for ourselves. We're just merely coping. That we stop seeing the external world for the takers and the users that they are. And yes, and they're entitled and all that. They could be. But we need to start seeing how all of the people that we've surrounded ourselves with and the relationships that we're in are mirroring something very clear to us. And this is how we show up. And when we stop showing up like this, the thing we fear the most will happen. For the most part, when we show up and suddenly have needs, right? And stop being the cool girl